Welcome to another episode of Leading You. I'm your host, Julie Hyde, and today I'm going to be taking you through how to stay in your A game despite life's constant demands. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and ask the question, how do I be my best when life keeps throwing so many things at me? And I think that this is a constant now. There's going to be challenges continuously being thrown at us. We're going to be welcoming them when a lot are going to be unwelcomed, but we're going to have to be handling so many things that we haven't necessarily prepared for. And I talk a lot about this in my book, You Always Have a Choice. And I think that there are times where we can feel like we're fully in control, that we're managing our juggle, and that life is okay. We can manage it. But then there are other times where you can feel like you are being pulled in so many directions. But the key to being at your best is how you really manage and maintain your mindset. 'Cause your mindset is at the core of everything. So, what does it mean to stay in your A game? What I mean by that is basically performing at your best. So, being the best version of you that you can be, even when you're faced with challenges, even when you're going through change that you don't necessarily want, even when you're going through hard times. And of course, the best version of you will change all the time. There isn't just one best version of you, because we need to adapt, we need to evolve, and we need to move with what is going on for us. But all of this starts with having a proactive mindset. Now, being in your A game doesn't mean perfection. What it means is it is showing up at your best. It is making intentional decisions and choices, and it's staying focused on what truly matters. As I said before, it's not having one version of the best you that is a constant. It is adapting. And I can reflect back on when I was in my corporate career. I had a huge workload. I had a big team. I was managing my personal life outside of my work, while also trying to maintain a relationship, spending time with parents, spending time with my new relatively young nieces and nephews. And I felt like I just wasn't being great, let alone good at anything. And what I then realized was, through the power of pausing, was I just had to realign what I was doing. I had to stop and recalibrate and think, how can I do my best where I need to do my best right now? And then sort of come back to it at a particular time when I get on top of what I felt like was out of control. And what was very much out of control at the time was work. So once I did that, I felt a huge sense of relief, because I realized I didn't have to keep juggling all the balls in the air that I was juggling. What I had to do was to really understand what were my priorities, what could I drop for good, and what could I let bounce that I could pick up later. And I'm going to share that with you in terms of that strategy, which is a really powerful one. So by reframing that challenge, enabled me to stay in my A game rather than reacting to what was going on around me. And it enabled me to make empowered choices about what I focused on. And what I'm going to share with you today is going to enable you to do the same. It's going to enable you to shift from doing it all to doing the right things well. Okay, so I mentioned the juggle before in terms of I felt like I was juggling so many balls and I wasn't doing it well. And I was completely exhausted by juggling all those balls all at the one time when it wasn't necessary. I share in my book, You Always Have a Choice, about the juggle. And it is one concept that has received a lot of positive feedback in terms of empowering people to stay in their A game, but to really release that pressure valve. Not everything you're juggling deserves the same amount of attention. Pretty much ever. Not everything you are juggling deserves the same amount of attention. Knowing how to prioritize is the key to protecting your energy and also your performance. So in the book, I go through the task of labeling the balls that you are juggling and labeling them in priority. So priority 1 is a crystal ball. And these are balls that you do not want to drop. These are really important balls. And these might be your family, your health, your relationship, but the things that are critically important to you. And that if you dropped that crystal ball, it would shatter and it would be quite catastrophic to you. And sometimes you cannot put that ball back together again. So that is the crystal ball. They are critical. The second is the rubber ball. And these are balls that you're juggling that are important, but you can drop them, let them bounce, and you can pick them up later. Work does fit into that category. Your business does fit into that category. And I can assure you, through going through my cancer challenge, that my business ball was the ball that I could definitely drop and can still drop when I need to. And it bounces along and I can pick it up later. It is not a crystal ball for me. And it is not a crystal ball for you. And thirdly is the concrete ball. And these concrete balls can be multiple. And it's amazing how many we find ourselves juggling. And what these balls are balls that you do not need to juggle and that you're often juggling out of a misaligned sense of obligation. So it might be through people pleasing, the need to be liked, the need to be needed or, wanted. These are the reasons that you end up juggling these concrete balls. They can also be bad habits that we've got into that we just keep on doing because we've always done them. Whereas if we stop and reflect it in terms of why are we juggling these concrete balls, that we would drop them and leave them drop forever. And that is the purpose of labeling a ball as a concrete, because you drop it and you leave it dropped. And by dropping those balls, you feel this sense of relief coming off your shoulders. It is so empowering. And I had someone from a keynote that I have recently delivered talk to me about how liberating it was for her in terms of dropping those concrete balls, because she identified as a people pleaser. And she was so busy juggling so many balls out of that sense of wanting to please others that she certainly wasn't juggling any balls in the air well that were aligned to her priorities, to her self-care, to her health. She was running herself ragged on juggling all of these balls. And by letting those concrete balls drop and stay dropped, and by letting some others bounce, She then was able to make some really empowered choices about some of the crystal balls that she juggled and juggled really well. And she also felt that sense of relief that she was doing some of the things that she wanted to do really, really well. So I encourage you to reflect on what tasks or responsibility are really critical to your A game and which ones can be minimized, delegated, or dropped. It's not about doing more, but it's about doing the right things better. So that is your first task to do, to really reflect on it. If you need a help with prioritizing, labeling your juggle, please reach out to me and I will send you the worksheet in terms of juggling the balls exercise. The second thing I do want to talk to you about is something I'm incredibly passionate about and I advocate for all the time, which is the power of the pause. Pausing to reflect is one of the most powerful tools for making empowered choices, but also for maintaining control and staying in your A game. Because when you're juggling a lot, it's easy just to push through without stopping. But the secret to staying sharp is to assess, refocus, and reset. So you assess the juggle, you refocus the juggle, and then you reset and off you go. Moving in alignment to what is really important to you. So even short pauses can help you stay in control. I do really encourage a lot of my clients to push the pause button at the end of every day for 10 minutes to reflect on their day, to reflect on how they've been as a leader, a parent, a partner, whatever that looks like. But even just pausing for 2 minutes, taking some deep breaths, and then asking a reflective question like, what's the most important thing I can do right now to stay in my A game? What is the most important thing that I can do right now to stay in my A game? And my cat's trying to get into her food. So the most important thing I can do to stay in my A game right now is to close the door. But this is so incredibly empowering. But doing that deep breathing exercise it calms your parasympathetic nervous system. If you do it right now with me, just taking one deep breath in and then breathing out. Just that one breath can just give you that sense of calm. And it can just be your trigger to reset and recalibrate in terms of asking yourself that really powerful question. What is the most important thing I can be doing right now to stay in my A game, rather than running on that treadmill and staying in the busy vortex that we can often get caught in? So I really invite you to incorporate a pause into your day every single day, whatever that looks like for you. Whether it's 2 minutes, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes. You always have the time to do this. Always. Time is not an excuse not to do it. So this might become a crystal ball for you in terms of your reflection time. It is something that you want to keep juggling in the air. So whether you do it in the morning to set your intention for the day, whether it's during a really hectic work day, whether it's, when you're feeling a sense of dread or stress or overwhelm, or even before you need to make a big decision, I really encourage you to press that pause button. Pausing is key to maintaining your best performance. And the third thing I want to mention is mindset. And I talk about in You Always Have a Choice that mindset is your superpower. It can be your superpower for your A game performance. Everything we do is stemmed from our mindset, how we think, our attitudes, our beliefs, our ingrained habits, what we think we should be doing. And you notice the word should there. Because by adopting a proactive, empowered mindset keeps you in control even when life feels chaotic. When you view situations through the lens of choice and possibility, you stay focused on solutions rather than problems. So instead of thinking, I have to do everything, shift your mindset to, I get to choose what's most important for my A game. That reframe in itself is so incredibly empowering. It releases so much pressure and tension. So going from, I need to do all of this, I have to do all of this, to I choose to do all of this, that reframe in mindset, that shift in mindset and that shift in lens can really help you to assess, are the things that I'm doing right now a choice, or am I stuck in the shoulds? The should-haves, the would-haves, the could-haves. You've probably heard that term before, but the shoulds really do evoke that sense of heaviness. I should do this. I really don't want to do it. Do you have to do it? So I really encourage you to reflect on your mindset. Are you feeling reactive and in control, or are you stuck in the shoulds? Are you juggling too many, concrete balls and potentially rubber balls through, I should do it, I have to do it? But are the shoulds and the have tos crystal balls for you? Are they really, really important? Are they aligned to your values? Are they aligned to your priorities? Those priorities, again, are your crystal balls and the things that you do to be in alignment with your values. What can you shift today, tomorrow, if you're, listening to this at night, to stay in alignment with your A game? And it's really powerful to make sure that, at the start of every day, you set your intention for what your A game actually is. What does your A game actually mean to you? That is a really powerful question to ask yourself. So, in summarizing these points, staying in your A game requires you to reprioritize the right tasks, pause to recalibrate and reset, and then maintaining a mindset of empowerment. That is where you are channeling your mindset as your superpower. And I really remind you that staying in your A game is not about perfection. It is making empowered and intentional choices that keep you in control. And by managing your mindset and your energy, you can stay sharp and focused even when life pulls you in all sorts of different directions. So I really encourage you to practice one of these tips today or tomorrow, whether it's pausing, prioritizing, or making a mindset shift, or you might want to be trialing all of these to stay in your A game. It is absolutely possible. But just remember, the definition of your A game is going to be different each day. So be doing this type of activity with a sense of compassion, with a sense of self-love, and a sense of empathy for you. This is not an exercise or an opportunity to be hard on yourself. So I Thank you again for tuning in to Leading You. And I would love it if you could rate and review the podcast. I know I say that often, but it really does make a difference in terms of getting it into people's ears. So thank you again for being part of the Leading You community, and I look forward to being back in your ears really soon.